Are all pastors crooks, or do they just want to be crooks? We're going to discuss that and other topics on the Atheist Viewpoint. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Ron Barrier.
And I'm Dennis Horvitz.
And welcome to another edition of the Atheist Viewpoint. Today's program, we're going to do a little bits and pieces from the news and little curiosities and things like that. I'm going to open up, Dennis, if you don't mind. I'd like to open up with the story of the Koran preacher. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have read about this pastor, Terry Jones is his name, from some outreach church in Florida, who caused a big brouhaha last year about threatening to burn the Koran around, I think, the September 11th anniversary, sometime like that.
Right.
You know, and of course, another great religion, the religion of peace, Muslims and Islam, decided that they were going to respond to his threats of burning the Koran by killing each other.
Wow.
which was, well, you know, actually somebody wrote into the Daily News about that and says, you know, why don't we just pull all our troops back from the Middle East and just burn the Koran every day, and the Muslims would just kill each other every day over it?
Yeah.
You know.
Oof.
But here's the thing I want to talk about. Most people know about this. He didn't burn the Koran at that time, but he did. It was a few weeks back in early April, late March. He actually did do it. And of course, the Muslims kept their promise and started killing each other. When he first...
And weren't there some Christians that died too, I think?
Yeah, they probably, you know, they go after everybody. They just go nuts.
I think so, yeah.
You know, somebody burns a book, they go nuts. Even though I'm against book burning, period. You know, yes, atheists can appreciate a movie like Book of Eli.
Yeah.
What he did in September was he threatened to burn a Koran. Now, there was a local radio ad by a local car dealer here in New Jersey. He's a very famous radio car dealer, and he advertises on the radio all the time. With his ads are noted by being kind of wacky and off the wall. Well, he offered Terry Jones a free brand new automobile if Terry Jones did not burn the Koran.
Wow.
Okay? Of course, Terry Jones's people got a wind of it. He didn't burn the Koran. He actually contacted this auto dealer in New Jersey, in South Brunswick, New Jersey, came up, and they struck an agreement that he would get a car and he would turn that car over to an organization that helps battered women or something. So,
all right.
Very nice.
Very nice.
So then, you know, 4 or 5 months goes by, and the son of a bitch, Terry Jones, burns a Koran, causing all sorts of problems. To me, that means now that he took that car, he stole that car.
That's right.
Under false pretenses.
That's right.
He gave his word he would not burn the Koran. He got the car. He burned the Koran. Did he give the car back? No. So he's a crook, a thief,
there must
and
be
he's
something
dishonest.
Yeah, there must be something in the fine print, because you would think that that the car dealer would be able to take him to court.
I would hope he would.
Yeah.
Unless, you know, again, people give the clergy too much slack.
Right.
Of course, I would have sued Terry Jones' ass right to the wall to get everything back, because he was a thief.
Right.
I don't know what this car dealer is going to do. I'm not going to judge what he does or doesn't do.
Right.
Maybe for him, it was a write-off and he benefited from it after tax time. I don't know. But I am going to judge Terry Jones as being a thief and a crook for taking this car under false pretenses.
Sure.
And then, you know, breaking his word and doing what he promised not to do. And that's so much for the Terry Jones dope. The Pope, recently in the paper, humanity isn't a random product of evolution. Pope Benedict the 16th marked the holiest night of the year for Christians by stressing that this was April 23rd, 2011, that humanity isn't a random product of evolution. But everything else is.
Well,
And then we were invented as like a side dish.
you know, we were. Well,
See, considering that I consider this planet one giant buffet where one species eats the other. That's why I said we're just a side dish.
okay, you had me confused. But you know, according to the anthropomorphic principle, the whole universe was created just for us to be here.
Benedict emphasized the biblical account of creation in his Easter Vigil homily, saying it was wrong to think at some point, quote, in some tiny corner of the cosmos, there evolved randomly some species of living being capable of reasoning and of trying to find rationality within creation or to bring rationality into it. Of course, this doesn't speak to the fact that he believes in some corner of the cosmos, some being did start even before the cosmos in some indescribable environment. I don't know, because to me, everything that exists must have an environment conducive to its existence.
Well,
that doesn't seem to bother him.
For most of the church's history, they didn't even think of the cosmos as anything close to being what we know it to be now. That it was just basically all, you know, the stars were just kind of hung up there in some kind of firmament, something or other. You know.
Let me go on with a quote. If man were merely a random product of evolution in some place on the margins of the universe, which I've never heard anybody say except this guy, then his life would make no sense or might even be a chance of nature. I think it's fantastic that nature has produced, and we may not be the only ones, but a living intelligence that could actually look back at it and say, what is this and what is our place in it? I think that's fantastic.
Right.
And I think it's a lot easier than what the Pope says. He says, but no, reason is there at the beginning, creative divine reason. So this guy, this invisible amorphous thing in some indescribable environment is the source of creative design and reasoning.
Well, you know, I've come across this kind of discussion on the internet before, and one response that I use is that in the face of an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, perfect, and eternal being, creation itself is meaningless. If you have an entity that is already the be-all, end-all of everything, what's the necessity for creating anything? What you know?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's
well, he couldn't be perfect because he would have thought of this.
Right.
Otherwise, he was just inert for eternity.
And if being the be-all, end-all, it would have to be perfection itself. So in order to create something, a decision has to be made. Why was the prior condition unsatisfactory in the first place? You would even have to make why the necessity for thought? Why action? Why a decision?
Well, obviously he was inept because, I mean, as soon as he starts with one world and two people, the whole thing broke down. So, he had very, very shoddy work. So the Pope says that the life would make no sense. But he doesn't explain why life would make any sense. And he also makes a mistake by thinking that humans are the only beings that reason.
But it would be wrong even if we were.
It would be wrong even if we were, but we're not. There are other beings on this planet that can reason in different capacities, maybe in limited capacities, but they do reason.
Well, one way of putting it is that basically we do what a lot of the other animals do, except that we do it in a more complex way, and by our standards more advanced, although I use that term advisedly. It's a reference point. It doesn't, someone once said, well, the whole idea that the humans are at the apex of evolution. Well, no, we are at the apex of our particular type of primate evolution because we're the ones that are here now, but cockroaches that you find in your house are at the apex of cockroach evolution. You know.
And there is bacteria and virus that would turn us into the dessert. You know, so as far as, you know, that's what, going back to the Earth is a giant buffet.
Right.
So his idea of a perfect world was to create all these species and have them kill and eat each other.
Yeah, and the God that can supposedly do anything. Why choose that? Why do that?
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, as we mentioned before, apparently he was so exasperated with our behavior that he has to create one more to kill him for us.
And floods and all that.
And all that nonsense.
An omniscient God who knows everything's going to happen is shocked.
Well,
no.
Look, I mean, let's put it this way. Jesus is Christianity's personal zombie because he rose from the dead. Holy Week, in my opinion, is Zombie Week. They are, in fact, celebrating for an entire week. You know, it's funny, too. Mel Gibson's film, The Passion. This is a week they call Holy Week, and it's a week in which they celebrate cruelty, violence, and zombieism.
And some would say homoerotic cruelty.
Why?
Because of that whole beating scene that lasts 20 minutes.
That's torture porn.
Yeah, but, you know, that's one point of view.
So much for the Pope. You have anything, Dennis, you would like to throw in here?
No, keep going.
All right, we'll keep going. A new study by the National Center for Science Education has put out, conducted by Ipsos for Reuters News. In 24 countries found that 41% of respondents identified themselves as evolutionists and 28% as creationists, with 31% indicating that they simply don't know what to believe. I already had a problem with the first paragraph. People ask me, and I'm sure they ask you, do you believe in evolution? My answer to that is no.
Right. That was good.
Okay? Well, evolution, scientific evolution, first of all, is not something that is a belief system. It is a mosaic that that the scientific community has been able to put together from a variety of fields.
Right. Well, it's become the cornerstone of modern science.
And modern biology.
Yeah, right.
You know, and every time it is challenged with new discoveries, including the discovery of DNA,
right,
supports it.
Yes.
You know, does that mean that evolution has answered all the questions?
No, of course not.
Of course not. Is there uncertainty?
That's why they call it science.
Yeah.
Science is about acquiring new information.
You know, the famous British actor Anthony Hopkins came out as an atheist lately.
Right.
And he explains that one of the reasons he is that he enjoys the uncertainty.
Yes.
The uncertainty gives you something to reach for, something to look at. Or as we said on the last show with the Stephen Hawking, we will walk in the dark with a flashlight,
right,
and see what is in the dark.
Right. And people misconceive too, because if you believe in evolution in the sense that you believe in God, well, it's not believing in evolution, it's accepting evolution as the best explanation for the development of life so far. And if something explains it better, then we are obligated intellectually to get rid of evolution and put whatever is a better explanation.
That's why the question, and even by the National Science Education Center, that whether you believe in evolution or creationism is a false question.
Yeah, I'm sure it was unintentional. I hope it was.
Creationism is a belief.
Yes.
Evolution is an ongoing observation.
That's right.
It's an ongoing study.
Right.
And, you know, I get that too. Do you believe there's life in outer space? I said, what is that? My belief neither legitimizes life in outer space, or what does my belief have to do with anything? If there's life there, if there is other intelligent life in outer space, my belief is irrelevant.
Right.
And does nothing to legitimize them or delegitimize them. So it's not a belief. Now, if you want to ask me if I think there is,
right,
yes.
Or do you have a kind of a reasonable certainty that there might be, or something, a reasonable expectation? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think just as long as we're on the subject, I think I think life itself may be common in the universe. Intelligent life is possible.
I'll go further than you. I really think there's life just in our solar system on some of these moons of some of the planets that have conditions similar to Earth.
To primitive Earth, right?
And we have life in 600-degree temperatures.
Yes.
We have life in temperatures below zero.
I will accept the possibility, sure.
So microbial life and everything. I think the possibility is there that even in our own solar system, it's around. True. It could be.
Who knows what they're going to find in the oceans of Europa, which is a moon going around, orbiting Jupiter.
Exactly. The problem with some of the science community and some of the more rational people is that they have to stop allowing the religious to frame the argument in religious terms.
Yes.
That seems to be the problem. They get duped into it.
And another thing that I've noticed, and I noticed this with well-informed, educated, intelligent people, is unfortunately there's still the tendency to speak of evolution as though it were purposeful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes if you as though certain animals when on these nature shows, for instance, well, there's the implication at least that animals developed a certain adaptation so they could cope with whatever environmental situation was there. When in fact, the ones who couldn't deal with that environmental condition died off. They didn't survive to breed.
That's right.
And evolution itself is not natural selection is not random, but mutation is.
That's a good point you bring up, because what they're trying to do, you see, Vine Deloria is a Native American philosopher who has written some very excellent books. Have you ever read? Did you ever come across his book, God is Red?
No.
You really should, because it is such an argument against the profound misunderstanding that Christianity has of reality. He rips it to shreds. Right. First thing he resents, and like you said with evolution, Christianity tries to make everything linear. There's a beginning and there's an end. And it's not. Evolution is exponential from all areas, just like human history is exponential. Human history is written from a variety of
It's not a ladder.
Contributions.
It's not a ladder. It's a bush.
That's right. It's a lattice work. The web. Was it Chief? Oh, I have a quote on my refrigerator door, and I forget the name. Is it Chief Standing Bear or somebody else? But it's the web of life.
Yeah.
Says, man does not own the web of life.
No.
Man is a part of the web of life. And whatever man does to a part of that web, he does to himself. And I think, when you see how we abuse this home, that, we're a Christian nation, God gave us these gifts. Well, they sure as hell don't treat it like a gift. All right? Our Christian nation, we pollute the oceans. We pollute the lands. We are run by greedy profiteers who walk around with a Bible in their hands. We do everything possible to suck the blood out of this planet Earth. That's not treating the Earth as if it's a gift from your God. If I gave somebody a gift and that's what they did, I'd kick them in the teeth. Learn to respect stuff. And that is the problem. They do. Their whole thing is being hung up on creationism, that they have no respect for the reality that is nature.
Right. Because if you think that you're going to be redeemed any time now, or taken off the planet, or Jesus is coming back to save the world, it doesn't matter how you screw things up.
Right. And nature is not cozy. It's not warm and fuzzy.
Right.
These people like Rick Perry of Texas. In Texas, they had a drought in April. And what is this guy doing? Tell him.
Had him pray and want everybody to pray.
Pray for rain. You know what the guy is doing? He's having idiots negotiate with nature. It's not going to work. nature is not negotiable.
Whenever I see anyone say anything like that, my first thought is, how are those prayers for peace coming along?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's the most abused, the biggest headline that has appeared more often in more publications than any other headline all over the world, year after year after year. Religious leaders call for peace.
A day of prayer.
The day of prayer. That really works a lot.
There's I'm one group that I'm affiliated with is a group called SNAP, which stands for Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests.
Ah, yes, well aware.
And but there are other organizations, and not SNAP, but this one other organization, which I won't name.
That's right. We're under 2 minutes anyway.
They're one of the things they do is they have healing prayers for the victims of child abuse.
You know,
and
screw the prayers. I mean, this is.
I just don't.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I guess I guess it's understandable considering that a lot of these people, believe it or not,
or they just can't, or they just can't get rid of the obsessive compulsive behaviors that religion.
I think it's so ingrained.
You know,
it's so ingrained that that's what you do. That's just simply what you do.
You know, as we go out now we're in the 2 minutes. Did you see the news today, as we speak?
No.
That the Vatican has released a report on the sexual abuse of children by priests.
Okay.
And they blame it on the sexual revolution of the 60s.
Oh, yes, they call it the Woodstock defense.
Oh, that's wonderful. Like it never happened before.
Yeah.
It never happened before.
It's all of us hippies running around.
That's what we did, right?
Yeah.
Well, how come none of us are being arrested for child abuse? You know?
Well, yeah.
I don't know. You know, if you really think the Vatican is telling the truth, I have a book for you that proves that they're liars. Look up on the internet, and if you can get a copy, Henry Charles Lee's History of Sacerdotal Celibacy in the Christian Church. This was written over 100 years ago. He documents this kind of perversion back to the 1300s. So it had nothing to do with the Woodstock generation. It had nothing to do with pot, and it had nothing to do with free love. However, as Dennis and I are here, we have everything to do with everything, and we certainly do thank you for joining us here on the American Atheist Viewpoint. So on behalf of myself, Ron Barrier,
Dennis Horvitz,
we bid you good night. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Ourselves aren't really sure what to do with this, either with the atheist anger itself or with the perception of our movement as a fundamentally angry one. So today, I want to talk about atheist anger. I want to talk about whether this perception of the so-called new atheist movement as a fundamentally angry one is even accurate. I want to talk about why many atheists are angry. I want to talk about whether that anger is valid, and I want to talk about whether this anger helps or hinders our movement. So first, I need to point out, not all atheists are angry about religion. Most atheists I've known do have some anger about some of the specific ways that religion plays out in the world, but the atheist movement is very diverse. And one of the things we differ most about is how we view religion. Many atheists would be perfectly happy to coexist with religion as long as religion was happy to coexist with us. Other atheists have a more confrontational attitude towards religion. Okay, fine, we think that there are qualities in the very nature of religion that make peaceful coexistence unlikely or impossible. Atheists also have different opinions about whether religion itself is to blame for the harms that are done in its name. Some atheists think that the harm done in the name of religion is really simply a result of human nature, greed, fear, hunger for power, etc. Others see the nature of religion itself as an inherent cause of the harm that's done by it, or at least as a very important factor in making that harm worse. In fact, one of the things that I find most interesting about this whole angry atheist image that we have is that atheists commonly get seen as angry and confrontational and disrespectful, offensive, bigoted, worse, simply for existing, and simply for being open about who we are. I mean, when atheist groups put up billboards saying simply, don't believe in God, you are not alone, or don't believe, you can be good without God, people go cuckoo bananas. And forget about, it's a myth. When all we're saying is just the nice things. Hey, we exist, we're nice people. People go nuts. If you go to the Friendly Atheist blog, everybody's familiar with Hemant's blog, he keeps a record of the different atheist billboard and bus ad campaigns and the responses to them. And the frequency with which people freak out about them, or vandalize them, or try to get them taken down, it's astonishing. People get deeply personally offended by these billboards. They say that their freedom is being threatened, their beliefs are being vandalized, so it's okay to vandalize the billboards because their beliefs are being vandalized. You know, atheists are forcing our beliefs on others. It's absolutely one of the things that makes these billboard campaigns so successful, ironically. Atheist billboards are almost guaranteed to get news stories and angry letters to the editor and so on, because the mere act of atheists saying, we exist, that's enough to get people upset about these angry, confrontational atheists who are shoving our views down everybody's throats.